Even Larson said on the teardown, they interviewed him, and he said that their car was very average. He felt like if they lost touch with the lead pack, that they were going to be in big trouble. And they just were able to when they had flat tires or when they had issues, the cautions just fell perfectly for them to get back in their track. They did nothing wrong. They capitalized on some great opportunities and won a championship. But it just is wild to me that this is how the to borrow Kyle Busch's term, the top echelon of motorsports works. And I can't believe that this is how we decide this.
Following is a production of
the garage area.
Welcome into the garage area for the final post-race show of the 2025 season. We saw Corey Hiem win the truck race and the Truck Series championship. We saw Jesse Love win the Xfinity Series race and the Xfinity Series championship. We did not see Kyle Larson win the Cup race, but he did win the Cup Series championship. And what a race weekend! A lot of mixed emotions after that one for a lot of people. Uh, what you want to start on the happy end or the sad end? The depressing end or the deserving end?
Um, let's start on the depressing end, and then maybe we can get happier by the end.
We'll get happy at the end. Ryan wants to get happy. All right. You got Kevin Harvick's number. We'll call him. Uh, so I guess the depressing end is going to be the Cup Series. Uh, boy, just a race where Denny Hamlin started on the pole. He led the most laps in the race. Kind of a battle between him and William Byron there for most of the day. Byron had a good car. He had a good shot at the win. I wouldn't have felt, um, I don't know, upset in the sense of he didn't deserve it if Byron had won because he was definitely up there contending for it. He's coming off the momentum of the win at Martinsville. I think for the desire of this format to work the way that people want it to work, that would have been a reasonable storyline. Uh, but that's not what ended up happening. Four tires, tire wear was a big issue on the day. Four tires seemed to be the thing to get you out front, but earlier on a previous caution, Larson had gambled with just two tires and was able to maintain some track position up there. I think Briscoe did the same thing. And I'm watching the laps click off, and Denny's going to win this thing. He's got a big lead stretched out, and Byron's not going to have the opportunity to run him back down because that's what Rudy told him was as the tires get older, we're going to run him back down, and they didn't have that opportunity. And kind of the same mentality that they had with Blaney last week at Martinsville, but that didn't end up being the case, and the laps are winding down, and nobody's catching Denny, and Denny's going to win his first ever championship, and his dying father is going to get to see him be a champion. He's going to get to smoke that cigar with Michael Jordan, and with three laps to go, William Byron blows a tire, hits the wall. Did he hit the wall?
Yeah,
Brings out a caution, and they're going to have to come down pit road. Not everybody's going to come down pit road. Two RFK cars stayed out. I don't know if more cars than that stayed out or not. And a few guys took two tires, including Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, I believe was the first car on four tires, and ends up restarting in 10th,
I think so. Yeah.
something like that. And in an overtime finish, just wasn't able to get back to Larson. And Kyle Larson ends up being the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series champion. That's kind of a brief synopsis of the race. What were your thoughts and feelings on that?
Um, I don't know. I found myself rooting for Denny there, and it just, I think the fact that NASCAR threw the caution in itself was unnecessary. Even earlier, I mean, if you want to say they were, I guess they were pretty consistent. Any car that touched the wall because of a tire, they threw out the caution that race, whether they should have or not. Because you've seen cars blow out tires and stuff with no caution. I feel like some of those cars that hit the wall didn't have enough contact to deserve a caution flag. But it just feels like a gimmick championship system that uh, just throwing out that caution there just kind of ruined the whole race in itself. Um, I just I don't know what more to say about it.
Well, talk about the race itself. I mean, did you feel that the role that the tire wear played made this a better race than you were anticipating it being?
I don't think so. I felt like I don't know. To me, it was maybe better than previous Phoenix races, but overall, I still think it was a leader still had a pretty good advantage. You got out front; it was hard to pass, um, unless it was like severe tire wear or someone definitely overcooked their tires, I guess you would say. But other than that, I think the race in itself was just kind of a ho hum Phoenix race.
See, I would disagree with you there. I actually thought it was a pretty decent Phoenix race. I mean, I know Denny had the fastest car and Byron ran really well also, but I feel like those guys, all the championship four, they come all cheated up to this thing. I mean, we know it. Whether tech, I don't even think the tech officials put their glasses on this weekend, but you guess you were expecting those cars to be the ones that were out front and fast, and I anticipated Denny being fast, and I anticipated Byron being fast. I kind of thought that Briscoe would be a little more of a factor than he was, but other than that, I didn't. Nothing really surprised me too much. The Penske cars were fast there toward the end, and guys could pass here and there. Most of it did take place on the restarts, sure, but I do think that the high tire wear played a key role in that race being as entertaining as it was. And I don't think that the tire blowouts or any of that bother me. I don't think that these guys do a very good job at listening to Goodyear when they tell them this is the air pressure that you need to run on these tires. And I think Goodyear has done a great job at getting a good soft compound tire. I think this blows previous Phoenix races out of the water with that whole tire wear issue. Far more entertaining. Not that Phoenix itself is some barn burner racetrack, but I just felt like the race that we saw Sunday was head and shoulders above anything that I've seen at Phoenix in a while.
I agree it was better than other previous Phoenix races, but I don't I felt like the tire wear itself it was I feel like it didn't make as much of a difference to the passability of the car. I mean, you could like there was times I felt like maybe it took too long for the tire wear to change, and then the tires would blow out would be the ultimate ender. Like the cars once they had to protect their tires to not blow out. Early in a race. Most cars made it long, decent runs without blowing a tire out. I think Briscoe was the first one that had a tire blowout. Maybe it was Austin Dillon, then Briscoe. Um, anyhow, I just feel like it just wasn't enough of a fall off to provide as much passing as I would have liked to have seen. It was definitely better than other Phoenix races, but it still wasn't as good as I had hoped it would be.
Yeah, I guess I would have to. Well, I don't know. I don't know that I would say it wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. Um, I do think that it was. I was entertained the whole time, and I actually thought we were seeing real racing and not entirely the you can't pass because you're in dirty air type thing. But that's my opinion. You don't have to necessarily have the same one. Uh, but that was um, you just feel bad for Denny. We'll get into that a little bit more in a second. I've been, as you've been talking, I've been trying to look this up. 2014, I gotta find a way to find a more condensed list of this. 2014 was the first year of the um, elimination style playoff system. Do you know who won the championship in 2014?
Um, was it Harvick?
It was Kevin Harvick. I don't know how many wins he had that year. I wish that this list was a little better at providing me that information. Do you know who the other guys in the championship four were?
Mm, was Kyle Busch one?
No.
No. Hamlin?
Yeah, he was in it.
Edwards?
No, not in 14.
Oh, Newman was one, I think,
Yeah,
because
and
I
he had
remember he
one race
finished.
that year.
Yeah, he finished second. I remember that. I I couldn't tell you who the next guy was.
You said Denny Hamlin, Ryan Newman, Joey Logano was the fourth.
Okay.
Um, that there was a stretch there. I think it was like 2014 to 2016 where Joey was in it every year and had a had a real good shot at a championship, especially in 2015. But I don't know if he made the Final Four in 2015 because Matt wrecked him at Martinsville. But anyways, uh, Kevin Harvick won that championship. But I guess my point is, I didn't feel like Harvick was undeserving of that championship. I feel if my memory is serving me correctly, I think he won like 10 races or something that year. And Newman ended up finishing second and had not won a race that year. And it just it's crazy to think how big a swing that was. If you could imagine Newman having won that race, or at the very least, maybe didn't win a race and just finished ahead of Harvick, people would have been saying burn the system to the ground then. So I guess I would have to say in 2014, the first year of this, that worked out well. Like the champion was deserving that year. Okay. And I'm gonna try to jog your memory on some of this because I remember a little bit of it and see what your thoughts are, just your instant reaction of whether or not this champion was deserving. The following year, 2015, Kyle Busch won the championship after he sat out a third of the season with broken legs.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's definitely a good storyline, a good comeback story, I guess you would call it. But I I guess the old school me just thinks that if you don't compete in all the races and you don't get the points you shouldn't have something there to bail you out. And to me, it just doesn't seem fair that you can miss half a year and still win the championship.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Kyle Busch had a great performance once he became playoff eligible. He had to fight and claw for his opportunity to be in the top 25 in points. I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember what
Um,
it was, but sounds about right.
to be championship eligible, and he made it. I think he won Sonoma that year to get himself in that spot, maybe. Memory's a little fuzzy there. 2016, Jimmy Johnson ends up winning his seventh. And if you'll recall, that was the Carl Edwards leading toward the end of the race. Phantom debris caution comes out. He and Logano wreck on the ensuing restart. And the worst of the championship four cars that day ends up uh, stealing one there at the end. And Jimmy Johnson wins his seventh. How did you feel about that one?
Um, Being a Hendrick fan, I kind of rooted for it, but in the same, I still don't think that was a deserving championship. It just
Really?
yeah,
So you don't think Jimmy deserves seven?
no, not in that way. No,
Wow. Okay. I agree with you, but that's a bold take. The following year, 2017, Martin Truex Jr. seems like he kind of dominated at least the latter half of that season and ends up becoming the champion in that one.
yeah, I think that was one of the years I felt like the rightful champion won. I don't remember the other guys that were involved and stuff, but I remember that one year in that '78. I felt like he was winning quite a bit of races.
Yeah, you are correct. I am on that same boat as well. Definitely felt like in 2017, I can't remember where he got the win that made me go, oh yeah, he's gonna um, be the guy that I think has a good shot at this championship. And he was kind of a almost emerged out of nowhere at that point. Um, in that 78 car. Yeah, Truex won. Kyle Busch was second, at least in the championship. I'm not sure how they finished the race. Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski were the other two guys. And I got to be honest with you, other than Truex winning, I have like no recollection of that whatsoever. But I do have a pretty good memory of 2018. That was where Joey Logano won his first championship. It was the big three and me was the deal. I know that Truex was in that. I'm pretty sure Harvick was in it, and maybe it was Larson was the other one. Let me see. I'm trying to check now. Uh, no, Kyle Busch. It was Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and then Joey Logano. Um, I don't know about you, and obviously I'm a Joey Logano fan, so my perspective was a little bit different. It was another year where I thought that Truex had a good shot at it. Harvick wasn't too bad. Uh, well, really, Harvick and Truex and Kyle Busch had kind of dominated the whole playoffs. And Joey went to Homestead, and for whatever reason, I just felt like because he won that Martinsville race, that he had a good shot at it, and he ended up being the champion. But I wasn't really shocked by that. I don't know what your thoughts were on it.
Yeah, I don't. Was that the one where he knocked Truex out of the way at Martinsville,
Yeah,
and Truex was like he didn't win the war or something like that?
he's not
But
gonna win the war. Yeah.
I don't remember much more else from that year to really give a uh who did what. I was at Truex in the 19, right?
Um, no, I think he was still in 78.
I thought he went to the 19 after Edwards' departure, but I couldn't. Or Suarez was in it then. Never mind.
Yeah, yeah.
I yeah, but yeah, I really don't remember enough from that year to give a good answer on that one.
2019 was Kyle Busch's second championship. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't, again that one I don't remember much either. Probably more
I don't
deserving
remember a
than
ton
the
about
first
it.
one, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember a ton about it, but it did feel more legitimate, I guess. Chase Elliott in 2020,
Yeah, Harvick probably had 10 wins that year, and he probably should have been the rightful champion.
but
Not,
he didn't even make the final four, did
yeah,
he?
he didn't even make the final four. He wrecked Kyle Busch at Martinsville trying to get that last point to make him make it in. Um, I would say the second best driver that year was Chase Elliott, so it doesn't feel quite as illegitimate as some of the other ones, but because Chase had 5 wins. I mean, he got the fifth win at Phoenix, and he also kind of got wrecked at a couple of places where I think he could have had a couple more wins. So, an ill-timed caution in the Coke 600, and um, so I think Chase was definitely the best option of the final four in that race. So it doesn't feel quite as bad, but I still think Harvick in a proper championship format should have had that championship.
I actually remember from that race that Logano was leading the race, and then when they had a caution, they came down and put another set of tires on, and it was just like not the same race car. And I think he almost, or maybe did go a lap down. Um, it was something like that. It just was a terrible drive there at the end, and Elliott went by both him and Keselowski. I know that those two were fighting for it,
I,
along with
I
Chase.
remember I remember Chase passing Logano or past Logano. I feel like some stuff happened between the pit cycles where Keselowski had a bad pit stop or something and was running down Chase at the end, but didn't have enough time. And I know Chase started dead last in that race because of pre-race adjustments.
Yeah,
So Chase started
they
dead
said you can
last
cheat, but
when,
you can't cheat that much.
yeah, um, sure, but I think I was just looking at the season as a whole, not the race specifically.
Yeah. Um, Kyle Larson in 2021, good pit stop
Yeah,
won him that
yeah,
championship.
well, yeah, he that pit stop won him the championship when having the first stall, but I think overall as a whole, he had the most wins, points, and everything. So to me, that was a pretty deserving championship.
Yeah, I like he won 10 races that year, but as far as him having an opportunity, I guess this is kind of the thing that I'm trying to draw the line between, and we don't have to go through the rest of these, but the the idea that, somebody might have had a really good year, such as Kevin Harvick that year in 2020, but didn't make the final four even. Uh, and Kyle Larson the following year won 10 races, but you go to Phoenix and he was nowhere to be found until he found, you know, first off the pit road. So I don't know if that should kind of be I don't know where that perfect balance is. Like, if Larson had won 10 races this year and was running seventh all day at Phoenix, well, the championship four were running one, two, three. Do you think that if he got a good pit stop at the end, that that should have been, oh yeah, okay, he made it. He's a deserving champion now. Or
Um,
somebody that did the race like Denny Hamlin should have won that championship.
I think the hmm, I see where you're getting at, and I don't know how to answer it. um, because I saw somewhere the stats that Larson overall had the better stats other than race wins. But it's hard to,
Hmm.
you know, calculate, I guess, how each driver raced. And obviously, Hamlin missed one race because of a childbirth or whatever. But, um, and it's hard to compare because they all race different based on the format, than they would a full season or something like that. But, um, I guess we can go. I mean, we'll probably talk about the truck series later, but the extreme if Corey Heim would have lost that championship, of course he dominated the race, so that's kind of against your argument either. So, um,
I guess Jesse Love would be a good example of it though,
yeah,
because he didn't win since Daytona and he had the fastest car at the end of the race and won the race.
yeah, that I just
But I still feel like Connor Zillett should have been the champion.
yeah, that's where I'm kind of mixed with the. I don't know if we just fell into this hoping Denny would win
Yeah.
versus Kyle Larson stalled at the end. I just don't feel like. I mean, if we talk about the championship format, we shouldn't allow a caution with 3 laps to go and pit strategy to determine a championship.
But that's
Yeah,
the other side of that argument though is that happens in any other race. Like if this was not the championship race, Denny would have lost that race.
yeah, that's what I'm saying is he may have lost a race, but if you any other format where you're not doing one race at a time, you get a larger sample size that filters these late race incidents. I guess you would say it's a sample of a whole instead of just a singular event. And
Yeah.
I took a statistics class, and I know what I'm thinking in my head, but I don't know how well I can explain how statistics work and how that would be. But
I guess I feel like if it was I don't know how I don't know who you'd put in that group, but it feels like the championship four they've got to be near the same caliber or all clamoring for that same spot throughout the whole year, or at least through the playoffs. And it just seemed like, Briscoe was really good in the playoffs and Denny was really good. And Byron at the very end really became something. And Larson, it feels like he just survived the whole thing and ends up being the champion. So I guess if it was any one of the other three, I would be like, okay, I wouldn't have loved the fact that Briscoe was fairly irrelevant throughout the day, but especially if it was Denny or Byron, I would have been like, okay, I get it. Those guys deserve to win the championship. And it's not that Larson didn't. It's not. I don't know. It just was like he wasn't at the front as much as it seemed like the other three were
did
throughout the
Lar-
playoffs, not just this race.
did Larson even win a race in these playoffs?
No, he's not won a race since May.
That's what I was wondering.
He
That
didn't win
kind
a
of
race in the playoffs. He didn't lead a race, didn't lead a lap in the championship race.
I was wondering if that ever happened. So the champion that didn't win a race during the playoffs, but because I can't think of any, because it was only till a year or two ago that someone didn't win the final race to be the champion. So,
If I'm
um,
if I'm not mistaken, before this year, it's only Ben Blaney that didn't win the championship race. Ross Chastain won that one, and Blaney won at Talladega to get in, and Martinsville.
yeah, that was gonna say just win a race in the playoffs. Period. Um, yeah. Now that you really think about it, I think that's why when we made our picks, Larson was our fourth guy. Um,
Yeah,
that we thought had a chance, and he just kind of lucked into it at the end with the pit strategy. So, um, maybe that's where I'm getting the undeserved part of the championship is that he in the playoff format, he just kind of coasted his way through and just lucked out on a pit strategy.
Yeah. And look, I said the same thing about Logano last year. I was happy that he won the championship, but at the same point, it was like this feels kind of dirty. He doesn't, I mean, he got in because Bowman was disqualified, and although he ran like he was running well, he just was in too much of a hole to climb out of. He still had to go up there and win that race, and he still had to beat Ryan Blaney, and he did it. And just I don't know. It that didn't feel great last year, and this feels even worse somehow.
Yeah, I think not only did we get sucked into rooting for Blaney, or sorry, rooting for Hamlin at the end, but also just it just felt like someone who had coasted through and didn't have the performance the other three had is the one who took it all. So
Even Larson said on the teardown, they interviewed him, and he said that their car was very average. He felt like if they lost touch with the lead pack, that they were going to be in big trouble. And they just were able to when they had flat tires or when they had issues, the cautions just fell perfectly for them to get back in their track position.
yeah.
And it, there there's nothing wrong with that. They did nothing wrong. They capitalized on some great opportunities and won a championship. But it just is wild to me that this is how the to borrow Kyle Busch's term, the top echelon of motorsports works. And I can't believe that this is how we decide this. It's just insanity. Um, I guess if you want to make the argument about a football game or something like that, it's like, well, you still have to go in that race and perform. But Denny did perform. Like Larson didn't take that away from him. Like it's not like Denny had stretched out this big lead and then Larson had this huge comeback. It just it's your lead was erased by the yellow flag, which I don't. I'm not even going to argue as to whether or not that caution should have came out. It was consistent with the rest of them, and I'm fine with the fact that it came out. I got no argument about the Byron incident being a yellow. It just is like you have to take time, like you have to come to pit road because of how much tires met, and just too many guys tried to stay out. Too many guys took two, and unfortunately, Denny lost the race. Which you can deal with that you lost the race, but losing a championship on top of it, it just seems like too harsh a penalty for what that is. I don't know how to put that any better.
That's I think I'm on the same page with you.
In Jeff Gluck's poll, the race itself was not trending well, but I think that was largely an emotional move due to the way that the race ended. Uh, but I'm curious to know where you would put this race.
Um, well, if we gave it a number, like a rating of the race, I would say six.
Six, wow. That seems kind of low for what this race was to me. No rebuttal, that's it.
No, I didn't know if you were getting ready to say something or not. I don't know. I just maybe I hated how the tires fell apart or blew out. I don't know. It just felt like you couldn't run your car hard without blowing out the tire, and I don't know. I just felt like there was too much of a tire issue, almost the way we get with Bristol. That it just instead of just kind of having racing hard and tire wear, it's like you have to be delicate with them, and then boom, they're gone. So I just feel like there's still some work that needs to be done with this.
Now, I agree that there's still some work that needs to be done with it, but I would rather have this than we're all going as hard as we can and nobody can pass because of the dirty air.
Yeah.
So you give it a six. I'm gonna give it an eight. I might no, I'm giving it an 8.5. I actually thought it was that good. For Phoenix, for the next gen race car, I'm giving it an 8.5. Be curious to know when we do our year in review what this looks like for how far apart we were on certain races that we rated and which one was the best and which one was the worst. We'll take a look at that a little closer here in a different podcast. Um, Penske did it, by the way. Ryan Blaney won the race. That was a real afterthought. Um, he was on two tires, right?
I think so.
I don't even know because it just there was too much stuff happening there at the end. And I guess it was a pretty close finish between him and Keselowski, but I didn't even see the finish. That's just the rumor that I heard.
Yeah, I mean, Keselowski had the lead going into three. Said he overdrove it because he thought he was going to get run through from behind, and then I think Blaney just snuck it inside of him, got him at the line. It was nearly
That
a three
that
wide
move
finish.
then that's what I heard. Again, I hadn't seen it yet. Um, that move that Denny made to pass Byron on the previous restart to where Byron kind of like washed up the racetrack. Byron had a position on him and washed up a little bit, and Denny just like stood on the brakes and drove under him and then got the run off the next set of corners. I was like, man, that's some veteran driving right there. He really knew what he was doing. He knew what his car was going to feel like to get through there. And in that moment, I thought that move won Denny Hamlin his championship. And it just that didn't end up being the case. Do you think that Denny should have taken two?
Um, I assumed everyone else would have taken four also because the guys, Briscoe had another flat tire at that point, I think, so he may have been out of the picture. But Larson took two on the last stop, and I thought there's no way he could take two again.
Yeah.
And I just assumed it would be. I assumed somebody would either stay out or take two, but I didn't. I did not see Larson's strategy of taking two working because of how much they had on their left sides. And I know the right sides had been the issues, but I thought Denny taking four was going to be the great call, but I think far too many people took two tires and just gave them too much of a gap back to Hamlin. So I was hoping and I'd see like a Corey Hiem where he went seven wide and passed
Yeah.
everybody is what I was hoping for, but that's not how it works in the top series.
It's kind of crazy that you've got 200 cars in this thing and you were pulling for the JGR car.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, but
Um, that we talked about Byron blowing the tire. He ends up finishing 33rd. He was your pick. I had Denny Hamlin as my pick. And what was the gap coming into this race? With 24 points?
I think it was 21.
21 points. I had all but conceded the championship to you, thinking that, these guys are going to finish so close together. It's not even going to be a contest. You've got it all wrapped up. But magically, with Byron blowing that tire, and I never even gave this a thought in the moment, with Byron blowing that tire and Hamlin finishing sixth, I made up, what, 27 points on you
Yeah.
and end up winning our season-long championship with a 6 point lead. In fact, I was going to text you before the race and say, "Hey, I know we didn't reset for the playoffs, but if our driver wins our pick wins the championship, we should be the champion, right?" So if either Denny or Byron won it, I was going to say we should get to be the champion. But I was just doing that because I was so far behind, I didn't think I stood a chance. But ended up getting the victory anyway. So last year you won it, and I was concerned you were going to go back to back, but I was able to get you this year by 6 points too. And I was down by 200 and some at one point.
Yeah, close to 200. I don't think he quite hit the 200 mark, but
It was a lot.
well, you got up by nearly a race on me, and I clawed back, so we kind of flipped back and forth a couple times.
Yeah, where our points battle was more entertaining than the actual Cup Series championship. Um, but yeah, that was that was neat to see that all work out and that just the epic swings that could happen while you're trying to pick the driver that's going to win the race and not pick them, too many times and not pick the person or not pick the driver the other person's taken and all of that, all the strategy that goes into it to still try to get the best finish on the season. There's the the playoff format, there's the lawsuit, there's things like that that we haven't really touched on a lot this year on this particular podcast, but we're going to kind of touch on that a little bit more on the off season. We're going to do a whole episode of what we think is wrong with the playoffs, what we would fix about the whole point system in general. Um, that I don't know how that'll go, what it'll be like, but we'll save that entire conversation for that episode. I think we're all kind of looking forward to December 1st to see what that lawsuit ruling is going to be. And I tell you what, especially after seeing the state of the sport now, I hope they get crushed into fine powder and somebody with some brains has to start making decisions again. But we'll get into all that later. We had two other races this weekend, um, the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series. I didn't get to watch much of the Xfinity Series race, but Jesse Love ends up winning it, winning the championship. Connor Zilisch, the guy that won 10 races this year, ends up crying on pit road because he's not the champion. What was your takeaway from that race?
I was definitely disappointed, especially as a JRM fan. The race itself, Xfinity cars, I think put on a great race. I thought it was pretty decent. But just kind of seeing how I was all right with either Zillage or Allgaier winning the championship. I think Allgaier had had been just as good as Zillage. I think Zillage definitely had the better season. I think Allgaier had some bad luck races in there that really kind of made it think that Zillage was so much better than him. But obviously, I think Zillage would have been more deserving of the championship. But either one of those two cars there, I would have been all right winning the championship. But Jesse Love just happened to have the right car when the sun went down and the track came to him, and just the other two couldn't keep up at that point. So it's kind of just kind of feels like a undeserved championship, but that's kind of what I see out of it.
He hadn't won a race since the first race of the year at Daytona, which it's hard to win races when Connor Zilisch is hogging all the wins. Uh, he he ran a great race. He was going up against three JRM cars, and it was only one RCR car. You feel bad for Zilisch for sure. Wouldn't have been upset about seeing Allgaier win it. Jim Pullman getting another championship with him before he moves on to Kyle Busch, and neither of those things played out. Connor and Jesse are really good friends, so there's that dynamic to it. The thing that I do like about it is the fact that he ends up winning his championship before Austin Hill. Uh, Austin Hill wasn't even in the contention for that because he's an idiot, and otherwise probably would have had a real shot at it, especially as well as the two car ran. So I take a little bit of solace in that. But yes, ultimately, I mean, I think that Carson Quaffle was at the bottom of the list of guys that deserved to win it, but Jesse was second from the bottom. And there's a wider gap in the Xfinity Series than there was the Cup Series. Like I said, I felt like in the Cup Series, Hamlin or Byron or Briscoe, any one of those were kind of right there with. If any of those three guys won it, I'd have been like, "Yep, I get it. They deserve to win." And then Larson was up there, but kind of in the next tier down, in my opinion. In the Xfinity Series, it was Connor Zilisch in his tier, Justin Allgaier in a close second tier, again, my opinion, and then Jesse Love is several tiers down, and Carson Kvapil, I'm not even sure is in a tier. I think he's just in with the rest of the field. Um, it just feels like that. I don't know that Jesse Love had no business being the champion. It's just what it feels like, and I don't. It's not undeserved. It's not any of this stuff because this is how the format works. He won the championship because he won the race, and that's what system is in place. It's disappointing as a fan because you feel like, really, I watched this whole season and followed this whole season to get somebody that didn't deserve it to win it. I mean, why don't they just give it to you or I? I mean, yeah, we didn't run any races, but Landon Castle, I think it was, had the best tweet of the weekend that said, "Why do we even race the rest of the time? Why don't we just line them up for a green white checkered finish at Phoenix in November and call that the whole season? Because that's all that anybody cares about." And I don't know. It's frustrating to see, especially in the top series, but in the Xfinity series too, the guy that should have won the championship not get it. And I don't know. Felt bad for Connor. I don't even like Connor Zilic, and I I recognize his talent. I don't hate him. I don't feel about him like I do Ty Gibbs or Austin Hill or somebody like that. I got nothing to dislike about him other than he's just a young kid and he's winning a lot of races, and for whatever reason, I don't like that. And I don't know why. That probably speaks more to my own insanity than his, but that just is. I didn't feel bad for him in the sense of he should have won this championship, or the poor guy, he doesn't end up capping off his 10 race win season with the trophy. It was just that dude should have been the champion. There's just not a question about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just speechless. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, I get
just
it.
just a dumb format.
Yeah. I really hope that we get something that's reasonable for next year. Um, I don't know. We'll say again, we'll save all that for a different episode. Anything else from the Xfinity series?
No,
The Truck Series. They tried to take it away from Corey Heim a couple times, but he ultimately was able to prevail. He got the four tires there at the end. He dove that truck 7 trucks wide all the way to the bottom, nearly bounced it off the inside wall. Don't know what else he did, but man, that thing looked like it was on rails and he had a rocket booster behind it. Laid back a little on the restart. That's neither here nor there. And ends up getting himself back into the lead and winning the race. Is that his 12th win of the year?
that was number 11.
That was 11.
Yeah,
Um, I saw the stat somewhere. I should have saved it. That literally in every statistical category, he broke every record in the truck series. And I feel like that's something that's very difficult to do in today's day and age. I wouldn't say he has a ton of great competition, but you know that the trucks are closer together than they have been in the past. It's not like some of these bigger teams are coming in there and just building the best trucks, like a Kevin Harvick Incorporated or a Roush or somebody like that. That they just have the best trucks week in and week out. Uh, his team definitely, they have some good trucks, and Corey's obviously a phenomenal driver. Uh, Kind of feel like he's getting cheated on his next season here just because of the way that the Toyota driver pipeline's working. But ends up being just an absolute dominant year for him, and I am so grateful that he ended up getting that championship because I feel like that was the series in which the gulf was the widest. It was Corey Heim way better than anybody else. Again, 11 race wins and probably should have had more than that, but they just didn't for whatever reason. Had
you were
issues
right.
where he
It
didn't
was
get
12.
get that win. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, a ton of wins no matter what. And then the guys that were in the final four with him, it was just like, what? Why are you guys even here? Like, again, felt like you and I could have been in that conversation and it would have been about the same. And so I'm glad that Corey got the win. I'm not disappointed, but just the fact that it almost got away from him is like, you got to be kidding me. And ultimately, he was able to prevail at the end, winning the race, winning the championship, the one of the weekend that was like solidly, solidly deserved.
Yeah, of course the caution came out and was like, "Oh no, here we go again." And then when he came out with four tires and everyone else either stayed out or took two, I was like, "Well, this is going to be a disaster." And when he come up side by side for the lead after the restart, I was like, "All right, he's got a shot." And then they all started wrecking in 3 and 4, and I was just like, well, at that point in time, Majeski still had to lead. I'm like, this caution better come out before they hit that start finish line because I knew they're not going to get cleaned up by the time they come back around. I wasn't sure if Heim was going to get back by them enough before a caution would have to come out. And I think fortunately they got the caution out before the line, and the four tires eventually prevailed on the restart, and he got the championship. So that was that, that kind of I think saved the Truck Series, but these the Xfinity and Cup Series, it just kind of put a damper on the whole weekend in itself.
Yeah, it did seem that way. All right. Um, that's post Phoenix. Anything else you wanted to touch on?
I got nothing else.
Corey Heim is your 2025 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion. Jesse Love is your 2025 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion. The last time that Xfinity will be the title sponsor of that sport, at least in the Xfinity Series. And Kyle Larson ends up being your NASCAR Cup Series champion for 2025. Mixed emotions over this weekend, like I said at the top of the show, but that's how it goes. That is the current state of NASCAR, and we will be over the offseason kind of expressing some ideas of what we would do to fix it if we were given the keys to the sport, and be curious to know what people think about our ideas for that. Um, to sign off for the last post-race show of the year, I just got to say, Alex Bowman's a hack, and so is Jordan Bianchi. So uh, those are my two least favorite people from the 2025 season. I guess you throw Austin Hill on there. He might be second behind Bianchi. I can't stand him. All right, that's going to do it for us on this show, and we will see you in the future sometime, possibly as early as next week, in the garage area.